I will tell you, man. Last thing I'll say is I did feel great on a beta blocker.
Johnson Lifts asks, have you ever used GC-1, a new thyroid beta specific agonist? Have you heard of this?
Never heard of it.
GC-1. So T3, I want to try it too. I don't know. Maybe Boston can find a source for us so we can experiment. Maybe Boston and I can both do an experiment and we do a video on it. But so T3 agonizes two receptors, which is TR, thyroid receptor alpha, and thyroid receptor beta. Thyroid receptor alpha seems to be more relevant to the heart rate increases when you take T3, whereas thyroid receptor beta seems to be more relevant to the fat loss, especially the fat loss at the liver. This thing, GC-1, is they made it out of a T3 molecule, but they replaced parts of the, I believe it was anyway, they replaced parts of it with something else, and it ends up not agonizing the alpha part as much and mainly agonizes the beta. It does 10 times preference of beta over alpha. So basically, it's like taking T3, losing body fat, but less heart rate increases. So less heart damage.
That's my issue with T3, man.
Yes, so
my issue right now is it really annoys me, man. Getting up to pee, having sex, I feel like I've ran a fucking marathon, dude.
So I would always take a beta blocker with T3, by the way.
How much though? How much beta blocker would you take?
40 milligrams with like 50 milligrams of T3. I would take 40 milligrams of propranolol upon rising, and then again 4 or 5 hours later, and you'll never get in this kind of high heart rate. You'll still burn more fat. You still will. You'll just block some of this effect.
40 mgs twice a day.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, really. But
it's funny you say that, because I'll tell you what. When I was on T3 and I was on Antanol, most people's like heart rate on Antanol gets down to like 50. Mine was still 65.
Exactly, because the T3 is through the alpha receptor is raising your heart rate. So this thing just potentially it could really be the better version of T3 for us. You would take a low amount of T3 just to stop your thyroid from acting, because you don't want your thyroid to grow. Like that's why I'm thinking now. I'm thinking of going on thyroid replacement, because I got so scared by what happened to Dave. And I, to be honest, I did a lot of research. 30% of Americans can actually, if they go to a doctor, 30% of Americans, adult Americans, a doctor can actually feel a thyroid nodule. A nodule is a tumor in your thyroid. A thyroid nodule, they can actually feel it. Now, I can feel some kind of weird stuff myself. I took growth hormone. I ate high protein for so many years. If once your thyroid grows enough, it's more likely to get mutations. If you take thyroid medication, you inhibit your thyroid from growing. So it could be useful, but of course you become dependent on it. So I'm thinking of doing it myself.
Have you ever heard of the beta blocker Cardivus?
Yeah.
Cardivital?
Yeah.
Well, that's another big one that a lot of people prescribe too.
It's so unique.
The ones I have in my room are, I have propranolol, I have antanolol, and I have the Cardivus.
You should mix. You could mix atenolol with propranolol. Atenolol will have the least side effects. It'll go straight to the heart, not get in the brain.
I heard that propranolol is the best for not like affecting fat storage, because it's faster acting.
It is it's very fast acting. That's true. But it's not. The thyroid will still improve your metabolic function even with the beta blocker. I've tried it before with atenolol.
No, yeah, but what I'm saying is, because propranolol is faster, I was reading that it has less people gain weight on it.
I mean, I don't know if less people gain weight because it's also stronger, but it is faster. So at night, it won't be in your system when you're sleeping, when your heart won't be high anyway. You know what I mean? Or when you go work out, you don't need to take it. So you could take it right after your workout. Okay. You know what I mean? Anyway, we'll talk next time.
I was thinking of that. Maybe I'll do it in the morning and post-workout.
But we should find this GC-1, because what I'd like to do is like take a little bit of T3 and then take GC-1 or something. Are
prescribing it?
No, it's not. It's not produced yet. I don't think. The research goes back to at least 15 years old, but I'm sure it's online. I'm sure it's somewhere. We should check it out. All right, brother. We'll talk.
One last question. You think T4 raises your heart rate too if you take enough?
If you take enough and you're hypothyroid, if you have hypothyroidism, it should raise your heart rate.
Yeah, but how about if I'm hypo, and I'm just taking enough thyroid to put me in range, but my heart rate is still high?
It will be high because your heart rate was low because you naturally had low thyroid. So now your heart rate is what it should be. And it's high because of maybe various other reasons. For example, You could have low blood pressure, which you don't have. It could be because you have high adrenergic signaling, which you probably have. Stressed out, could be that. Could be that your heart is not very athletic, which means you don't, you don't exercise much. It could be that you have some blockages in your arteries. It could be a lot of things. So it's something worthwhile to diagnose, and it's easy to, it's easy to get the peace of mind about the heart. It's just one test.
What's a high resting heart rate for you?
For me, also, let me tell you another thing. People's heart rates vary. So some people, their resting heart rate, if they exercise, will be 40. Some people, if they exercise a lot, their resting heart rate will be max. The best one they'll get is 64 or so, whatever, or 62. And during the day, I'm not talking about while asleep. Mine is like that. My resting heart rate is high naturally. Like my worst heart rate resting was 92, 91.
I'm at 70. Would that concern you?
Not at your size, to be honest with you, and with the fact that you take some a little bit of androgens, it wouldn't concern me too much. It's not scary. When I was on androgens at my worst, it was 90 something. Now my heart rate is like, my resting heart rate is, my nadir is below 50, like 55, but my resting that's at night while sleeping.
Is that because you're on a beta blocker?
In the day, it's 65. No. I only take the beta blocker once a day in the morning, and it's propranolol, so it's short acting. So it's out of my system.
Why do you only take it in the morning? Is that when you get anxiety?
That's when I get the peak. Everybody gets their peak stress, cortisol, and adrenaline in the morning when they wake up 3 hours later. That's what wakes you up from bed.
Are you doing it for blood pressure, or what exactly are you doing it for?
To protect my brain long term, to protect my heart in the long term from being a stressed out guy naturally.
And you just take 40 or 80? 40. Okay. 40
upon rising every day, and I also take it, especially if I ever take caffeine or my amphetamine, like Adderall or dextroamphetamine. I take it at the same time, so it inhibits the effect.
So you don't think it counteracts something like Adderall?
No, it doesn't, but it makes it way more powerful, actually.
How about caffeine?
Propranolol specifically?
No, listen, beta blockers. No, beta blockers.
They affect the metabolism of caffeine. So some of them may affect the metabolism. It will inhibit some of the effects of caffeine, absolutely. But it's different when we talk about amphetamine. Amphetamine, propranolol actually affects the metabolism of amphetamine, making it longer acting and making one metabolite, the most potent one, stay longer in the brain. So it actually improves it, but it also, instead of making the amphetamine racy, it makes it euphoric, or as you say, europhic. It makes it europhic and not racy, not stressed out, and not like that kind of crap. So if you take caffeine and you take a beta blocker, it'll inhibit some of it, but it'll allow you to focus a bit more without that antsy kind of thing.
Okay, I got to try that. Another one that they prescribed my dad was metoprolol. You've heard of that one?
Metoprolol metoprolol gets in the brain like propranolol, but it's more selective than propranolol. So it's more selective of the stuff of the receptors that affect the heart versus other receptors. Propranolol is not selective. Propranolol is it's not a beta blocker. It's an adrenaline blocker, adrenaline receptor blocker in general.
I will tell you, man, last thing I'll say is I did feel great on a beta blocker.
I feel it's one of my favorite medications that I've taken. I'm a guy. I think most people that take steroids long term, they become stressed out people, whether they like it or not, because you've just been vigilant. You've been hype. You've been super masculine for years.
Over the years, I've gotten worse for sure.
There's no way to avoid it. It's just that adrenergic signaling.